Ladies and gentlemen, let me tell you something powerful. Today, every woman listening to me right now has greatness already placed inside her. You don't need permission to be strong. You don't need approval to be confident. You don't need validation to know your worth. But what separates a woman who dreams from a woman who dominates is not talent, not luck, not background. It is daily habits. What you do every single day either builds you up or breaks you down. See, life doesn't change in one big moment. Life changes in small decisions repeated daily. A woman who masters her habits masters her future. And one of the most important habits is how you talk to yourself. Every morning when you wake up, the first voice you hear should not be fear, doubt, or comparison. It should be belief. You've got to learn to speak life over yourself, even when nobody else does. If you don't believe in you, the world won't either. Confidence isn't arrogance. It's knowing who you are and refusing to apologize for it. Another thing I want you to understand is discipline. Motivation comes and goes, but discipline will carry you when motivation disappears. A woman who shows up even when she's tired, even when she's discouraged, even when nobody is clapping, that woman becomes unstoppable. Discipline is choosing growth over comfort. It's choosing purpose over excuses. You don't wait to feel ready. You move, and readiness catches up with you. You've also got to master the habit of protecting your peace. Not every argument deserves your energy. Not every opinion deserves your attention. Some people will misunderstand you no matter how clearly you explain yourself, and that's okay. Peace is expensive, and not everyone can afford access to it. When you stop reacting to everything, you start controlling everything. A calm woman is a dangerous woman because she sees clearly. Ladies and gentlemen, let me slow this thing down for a moment, because this one habit right here can change a woman's entire life if she truly masters it. I'm talking about the way you speak to yourself every single day. See, before the world ever believes in you, before opportunities show up, before doors open, there is a conversation happening inside your own mind. And that conversation is either building you or destroying you. Every woman has an inner voice. The question is, who trained that voice? Was it failure? Was it people who doubted you, criticized you, or underestimated you? Because if you're not careful, you'll start repeating what hurt you instead of what can heal you. You'll wake up every morning already defeated, already tired, already questioning yourself, and the day hasn't even started yet. That's not life, that's survival mode. You have to understand this, your words are powerful. What you say about yourself consistently becomes what you believe, and what you believe eventually becomes how you live. If you keep telling yourself you're not good enough, you'll start shrinking your dreams to match that belief. If you keep saying you're too late, too old, too broken, too different, you'll stop trying before you even begin. The enemy doesn't always come from outside. Sometimes it lives in your own thoughts. A woman who masters her self-talk learns to interrupt negativity. When doubt shows up, she challenges it. When fear speaks, she answers back. She doesn't pretend she's not scared. She just refuses to let fear drive. She reminds herself of what she's already survived, what she's already overcome, and how far she's already come. Confidence isn't about never failing. It's about knowing failure doesn't define you. Let me tell you something else. The world is already tough on women. It judges how you look, how you talk, how you love, how you lead. You cannot afford to join the world in tearing yourself down. You've got to be your own encouragement. When nobody claps, you clap for yourself. When nobody sees the work you're putting in, you keep going anyway. That's strength. That's maturity. That's growth. Positive self-talk doesn't mean lying to yourself. It means choosing hope over hopelessness. It means saying, I'm failing. It means saying, I'm becoming, instead of, I'm not there yet. Words shape perspective, and perspective shapes destiny. The same situation can break one woman and build another, depending on what she tells herself about it. And let me be clear, this is a daily habit. You don't fix years of doubt in one morning. You practice this every day, sometimes every hour. You replace negative thoughts the same way they show up, immediately. Over time, your mind starts to change. Your confidence grows quieter but stronger. You stop seeking approval because you've already approved of yourself. Ladies and gentlemen, when a woman learns to speak life into herself, she walks differently. She stands differently. She handles rejection differently. She doesn't fall apart when things don't go her way because her foundation is internal, not external. She knows who she is, even when the world is confused about her. Master this habit, and everything else begins to shift: your choices, your relationships, your future. Because the most important voice you will ever hear is not the one coming from the crowd. It's the one inside you. Ladies and gentlemen, let me talk to you about something that separates women who only dream from women who actually build something with their lives. I'm talking about discipline, not motivation, not excitement, discipline. Because motivation will lie to you. Motivation shows up when things feel good, when people are cheering, when progress is visible. But discipline shows up when you're tired, when nobody knows your name and nobody sees your effort. Every woman has days when she doesn't feel like doing what she said she would do. That's normal. What's not normal is letting feelings run your life. Feelings change, but discipline gives you direction. A disciplined woman understands that success is not about what you feel like doing. It's about what needs to be done. She doesn't wait for the perfect mood or the perfect moment. She moves anyway. Let me say this clearly: discipline is self-respect in action. When you keep the promises you make to yourself, your confidence grows. When you break those promises over and over, you begin to doubt yourself. That's why so many people don't trust their own abilities. They've trained themselves not to. A disciplined woman says, if I said I would do it, I would do it. And that one habit alone changes how she sees herself. Discipline also teaches you how to manage your time and energy. You stop wasting hours on things that don't matter. You stop giving your best energy to people who drain you and leaving nothing for your own goals. A disciplined woman understands that her time is valuable, and she treats it like it's valuable. She plans her days with intention, not chaos. She knows that every hour she invests wisely is a step closer to the life she wants. Now, let's be real, discipline is uncomfortable. It requires sacrifice. It requires saying no to things that feel good in the moment, so you can say yes to something greater later. It means getting up early when you'd rather sleep. It means working quietly when you want applause. It means choosing consistency over convenience. But here's the truth: the pain of discipline is temporary, but the pain of regret lasts a lifetime. A disciplined woman doesn't compare her journey to anyone else's. She stays in her lane. She understands that progress looks different for everyone. Some days she moves fast. Some days she moves slow, but she never stops. She doesn't quit because it's taken too long. She understands that real growth takes time, patience, and persistence. And let me tell you something powerful. Discipline builds trust with God and with life. When you show up consistently, opportunities begin to recognize you. People start taking you seriously. Doors open not because you asked, but because your habits spoke for you. Discipline creates reliability, and reliability creates influence. Ladies and gentlemen, when a woman masters discipline, she becomes dangerous in the best way. She becomes focused. She becomes grounded. She becomes reliable. She doesn't need external pressure because she has internal standards. And once a woman develops discipline, success is no longer a question of if, only when. Ladies and gentlemen, let me talk to you about something that many people overlook, but every powerful woman must master if she wants to grow without losing herself. I'm talking about protecting your peace. Not pretending everything is okay, not avoiding responsibility, but intentionally choosing what deserves your energy and what does not. Peace is not weakness. Peace is wisdom. Every woman faces noise every single day. Noise from people's opinions, noise from expectations, noise from social media showing you lives that aren't real, noise from relationships that demand too much and give too little. If you don't learn how to manage that noise, it will manage you. And when everything has your attention, nothing has your best. A woman who protects her peace understands that not every battle is hers to fight. She doesn't feel the need to explain herself to people who have already decided to misunderstand her. She doesn't waste her breath trying to convince people who don't want to hear the truth. She knows when to speak and when to stay silent. Silence is not losing. Sometimes it's winning with dignity. Let me say this clearly, emotional control is power. When you react to everything, you give control to everyone. People can pull you into drama, anger, and stress whenever they want. But when you choose calm, you take that power back. A peaceful woman can sit in a storm and not become the storm. That kind of strength doesn't come overnight. It comes from self-awareness and practice. Protecting your peace also means setting boundaries, even when it feels uncomfortable. It means saying no without guilt. It means walking away from conversations that disrespect you. It means distancing yourself from people who constantly bring negativity into your life. And yes, sometimes those people are family, friends, or people you once loved. Protecting your peace is not about rejecting people. It's about respecting yourself. Many women feel guilty for choosing peace because they were taught to be everything for everyone, to fix, to heal, to sacrifice endlessly. But here's the truth. You cannot pour from an empty cup. If you are constantly exhausted emotionally, you will have nothing left to give to your purpose. A woman who values her peace understands that rest is not laziness and stepping back is not failure. It's strategy. Peace also gives you clarity. When your mind is calm, your decisions become wiser. You stop making choices from desperation or fear. You stop reacting emotionally and start responding intentionally. You begin to see people for who they are, not who you hope they will become. And that clarity saves you years of pain. Ladies and gentlemen, protecting your peace doesn't mean life becomes perfect. Problems will still come. Challenges will still show up. But a woman who has mastered this habit handles problems differently. She doesn't fall apart. She doesn't lose herself. She doesn't abandon her values just to win an argument or please a crowd. When a woman walks in peace, her presence speaks louder than her words. She doesn't need to raise her voice to be heard. She doesn't need chaos to feel alive. She moves with confidence because she knows that peace is her foundation. And when peace becomes a daily habit, everything else in life, success, relationships, purpose, begins to fall into place naturally. Ladies and gentlemen, let me speak to you about something that no one can ever take away from a woman once she truly commits to it. I'm talking about investing in your mind every single day. Your mind is your greatest asset. Before money shows up, before success shows up, before recognition shows up, it all starts in the mind. If your mind is weak, then your life will reflect it. If your mind is strong, your life will follow. A woman who feeds her mind daily understands that growth is a responsibility, not an option. She doesn't wait for someone to teach her everything. She becomes a student of life. She reads when others scroll. She listens when others complain. She asks questions when others assume. And over time, that habit quietly separates her from the crowd. Let me tell you something real. Ignorance is expensive. It costs you opportunities, confidence, and sometimes years of your life. Many women stay stuck not because they lack ability, but because they lack information. When you don't know better, you keep repeating the same mistakes. But the moment you decide to learn, your perspective changes. And when your perspective changes, your decisions change. Investing in your mind doesn't mean you need to be perfect or know everything. It means you commit to improvement. 10 minutes of reading, one inspiring video, one new idea, one lesson learned from a failure. Small mental investments done daily create massive transformation over time. You don't see the results immediately, but one day you look back and realize you're no longer the same woman. A woman who grows her mind becomes harder to manipulate. She doesn't fall for every trend, every lie, every empty promise. She thinks critically. She understands her worth. She knows when something doesn't feel right. Knowledge gives her options, and options give her freedom. A sharp mind creates independence, emotional, financial, and spiritual. Let me also say this: learning builds confidence in a quiet way. You don't have to announce what you know. You don't have to prove yourself in every room. Your understanding shows in how you speak, how you listen, how you respond. A woman who invests in her mind doesn't rush conversations or chase validation. She moves with depth. Learning is not limited to books or classrooms. Life itself is a teacher if you're paying attention. Every setback has a lesson. Every mistake carries wisdom. Every closed door teaches you something about direction. A woman who learns from life stops seeing herself as a victim and starts seeing herself as a student. That shift alone can change everything. Ladies and gentlemen, when a woman commits to feeding her mind daily, she builds a foundation that cannot be shaken. Trends change. People leave. Circumstances shift. But what you've learned and how you think stays with you. And once a woman understands the power of her mind, she stops waiting for permission to grow. She takes responsibility for it. Ladies and gentlemen, let me talk to you about something that many women struggle with, not because they are weak, but because they have been taught the wrong lesson for too long. I'm talking about self-respect and boundaries. This is a daily habit that determines how your life feels, how your relationships function, and how much peace you actually experience. A woman who lacks boundaries often gets more than she has, stays longer than she should, and tolerates behavior that slowly damages her spirit. Not because she doesn't know better, but because she's afraid. Afraid of being disliked, afraid of being alone, afraid of being called difficult. But let me tell you something. Every time you abandon yourself to keep someone else comfortable, you pay a price internally. Self-respect begins with knowing your value and refusing to negotiate it. It's understanding that love does not require self-destruction. Loyalty does not mean silence. Kindness does not mean weakness. A woman with self-respect knows where she ends and where others begin. She doesn't allow people to cross her emotional lines just because they are familiar. Setting boundaries is uncomfortable at first. It feels unnatural if you've spent your life pleasing others. You may feel guilty. You may feel selfish. You may feel like you're hurting people. But what you're really doing is teaching people how to treat you. And the ones who truly respect you will adjust. The ones who don't were benefiting from your lack of boundaries. A woman who practices self-respect learns to say no without over-explaining. She doesn't feel the need to justify every decision. She understands that not everyone deserves access to her time, energy, or emotions. Access is earned, not given. And when she says no, she stands on it. That consistency builds strength. Let me be clear, boundaries will cost you some relationships. And that's okay. Not everyone is meant to go to your next level. Some people only know how to love the version of you that overgives, overforgives, and overextends. When you change, a growth always requires separation. A woman with self-respect also chooses herself in moments when no one else will. She walks away from disrespect even if it hurts. She doesn't chase apologies that never come. She doesn't beg for basic decency. She understands that being alone is better than being repeatedly disrespected. That kind of courage builds unshakable confidence. Ladies and gentlemen, when a woman masters self-respect as a daily habit, her life begins to shift. Stress decreases. Relationships become healthy or disappear. Decisions become clearer. She no longer asks, why do people treat me this way? Because she has already set the standard. And once a woman knows her worth, she stops allowing anything or anyone to make her forget it. Ladies and gentlemen, let me talk to you about a habit that keeps a woman grounded without keeping her stuck. I'm talking about living with gratitude while still carrying ambition in your heart. Too many people think you have to choose one or the other. Either you're thankful or you're hungry for more. But the strongest women understand how to balance both. Gratitude is what keeps you humble. It reminds you of how far you've come, not just how far you have to go. When a woman practices gratitude daily, she stops waking up angry at life. She stops comparing her journey to everyone else's highlight reel. She begins to notice the progress she once prayed for. Gratitude shifts your focus from what's missing to what's working, and that alone can change your energy completely. But let me be clear, gratitude does not mean settling. Ambition is what keeps you moving. It's the quiet fire that pushes you to grow, to improve, to aim higher. A woman with ambition refuses to live on potential alone. She wants results. She wants impact. She wants to leave something behind. Ambition says, I'm thankful, but I'm not finished. The danger comes when gratitude disappears and ambition turns into desperation. That's when success never feels like enough. No matter what you achieve, you're empty. On the other hand, gratitude without ambition leads to comfort that slowly becomes stagnation. A woman who masters both knows how to appreciate today while building tomorrow. Gratitude also builds resilience. When life gets hard, and a thankful woman doesn't crumble as easily. She remembers past victories. She remembers answered prayers. She remembers moments she survived that once felt impossible. That memory gives her strength. It reminds her that storms pass and growth comes after pressure. Ambition, when guided properly, gives direction to her efforts. She sets goals with intention. She doesn't chase everything. She chases what aligns with her purpose. She understands that real success takes time, discipline, and patience. She doesn't rush the process because she respects the journey. Ladies and gentlemen, a woman who practices gratitude daily carries herself differently. She's not bitter. She's not entitled. She's not constantly angry at the world. And a woman who nurtures ambition doesn't shrink herself to make others comfortable. She dreams boldly, works quietly, and trusts the process. When gratitude and ambition walk together, a woman becomes powerful in a balanced way. She enjoys the present without losing sight of the future. She celebrates small wins while preparing for bigger ones. She doesn't feel guilty for wanting more. And she doesn't forget to appreciate what she already has. That balance creates peace, confidence, and fulfillment. And when a woman masters this habit daily, she stops chasing happiness. She becomes it while still moving forward.